About 4 feet into the line, just heading down our vent stack located in the back northwest corner of the crawl space. We appear to have an offset at one of our cast iron joint connections that is catching our camera as it tries to turn towards the back of the house and leave the foundation. While this offset itself may or may not be a concern for repair, we are going to investigate, try and see a little bit better exactly what's going on at this point in the pipe. This offset combined with the multiple sharp turns in the piping from the current form of access may prevent further assessment of the line. As with those turns and with this offset, we are losing a significant amount of push power on the camera. There also appears to be a significant amount of debris located at this turn. We can see that briefly here. That is catching the spring on the camera and limiting movement. Now that we're getting a little bit better visibility, we appear to see some damage to the piping as we leave the foundation wall. That white spot on the top of the piping we're seeing is a hole to the clay, which we will recommend for repair as a structural compromise. And we appear to have either heavy loose scale at this location or a partial collapse of the cast iron piping. After some pushing, we were able to get past our damage in the line, right where we transitioned from cast iron to clay. That was where we saw the hole in the top of the piping. Here, just forward of the camera at our next joint at about 6 feet, we can see an additional crack in the line. Our first pale white line there, coming up close to the camera, is a joint connection. The secondary line where that heavy root intrusion is coming from is actually a crack to the piping. Heavy root intrusion and shifting of the clay wall will indicate a structural compromise we will recommend for repair. On top of the piping at about 12 feet, we do have another hole in the clay from about the 10 o'clock to the 2 o'clock position. Noted as a structural compromise, recommend for repair. From about 42 feet to 50 feet, we do have some heavy grease, oil, and debris buildup in the piping. This is creating kind of a soft clog and partial blockage, holding some of that debris back behind it, as well as some water in the PVC section. We are going to recommend a cleaning for the line, as well as the initial repair of that first section of clay. At about 78 feet, we drop down towards our city tap connection located just ahead of my camera here. Angle of approach to the tap connection makes it somewhat difficult to assess the top right portion of that joint. However, we appear properly aligned on the bottom portion of the joint connection with good flow into the city side. There's a minor hairline fracture at about 68 feet. We see this partially running from about 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock, and then partially from about 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock on the pipe. Fracture does not show any shifting separation or root intrusion through the pipe wall. Pipe appears to still be functioning at this location. We've got another crack in the line at about 17 feet from point of access. Crack almost melts into the joint connection here. We can start to see some separation and displacement of the pipe wall at about the 2-3 o'clock position. And then that crack, our slightly thicker white line here, works its way up the joint connection around towards the 9 o'clock position. With some shifting and separation of the clay wall here, recommend for repair. We've got another fracture located just past this joint connection. While the fracture itself is not significant enough to warrant repair, given the amount of damage we've seen throughout this first section of the clay piping, we are going to recommend a repair from the interior crawl space out to the new PVC connection at about 21 feet. Getting a little bit better look at the piping at about 3 feet just as we are leaving the foundation. We can see a little bit better where our compromise here has damaged the piping. This appears to either be some big heavy sections of old cast iron piping from when they partially repaired in the crawl space, or the piping has partially collapsed at this location.